I'm delighted to be chatting with James Hawking, co-founder and co-CEO of Posthog, for What's in Your Stack, a chance to hear about the best and the worst software choices of tech leaders. So Posthog, the all-in-one platform for product analytics, feature flags, session replays, surveys, that's built for developers and a whole bunch more. Posthog was started by James and Tim in 2019 and is a true rocket ship. Loved by companies big and small. They went from pre-seed to Series B, I think, James, in less than 2 years.
Yeah, probably something like that.
Pretty wild, and widely known as one of the most loved YC companies. James, on LinkedIn, you described yourself as a pure sarcastic, but actually very earnest and helpful, which is an odd thing to say, but I think it's my favorite LinkedIn description I've ever seen.
Yeah, I went. In all honesty, one of the other execs was like, "Your LinkedIn's really boring, and it should be more interesting. Can I just have edit access?" So he just wrote literally whatever he wanted on there. So it's a third party perspective, but yeah.
That's one way to do it. Just outsource it, and we'll get more interesting results on LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's a bit like it's professional equivalent of getting your friend access to your Tinder or something like that. But
I know this is the first time I've heard about LinkedIn, but I'm all for it. All right, well, we jump into it. So I'm excited to hear about your software choices. So maybe starting out, what's your favorite software? If you had to be landed on a desert island with just one lovely B2B software to choose from, what would you pick?
I'm actually a massive fan of GitHub. I know that's a quite a boring answer. And we hugely use GitHub at Postdog. For much more than I think people conventionally use it for. Like I think a lot of people start using like Google Docs really heavily, and they have like to-do list apps and all kind of project management, all kinds of stuff. And like we literally just do everything in GitHub. I think where I used to work, where in workplaces I've been previously, you end up with like, oh, someone's tagged me that I'm supposed to do something in some comment in a Google Doc somewhere, and then someone else has tagged me in like Notion, and then I'm also like kind of tagged in Slack. I'm being asked to do something, whatever else. And so I think when we started the business, I was like, man, I think there's like a lot of value. Anything that's a tool that's collaborative needs to have a really strong reason for actually using it, because the downside is like yet another place to check. And so we're really militant about like we really don't want stuff to go outside of GitHub if we can avoid it. So we use it for like engineering, as in pull requests and code and stuff that's being written. But we also use it for stuff like all of our blog content. Like our marketing team they QA, like they'll do a pull request to update our website, and they'll edit our blog content on there and so on. So like a lot of people that would traditionally, and like we've got a graphic designer, Lottie at Postdog, who will put her work into a GitHub issue and it will get QA'd there. So we use it for like kind of project management-y type stuff. And because we're a dev tool, we kind of like people at Postdoc who traditionally wouldn't use GitHub to use it, because it gets them into the mindset and the lingo of a developer a little bit more. So yeah, we like really heavily overuse GitHub. I have no idea how much we spend with them. It's probably like nothing, or like $100 a month or something stupid. But it's like our totally core piece of software that we use.
Really interesting to hear, because I mean, it is a classic choice, but I haven't heard it applied so widely. Is there, like, of all those use cases, what's your most unusual use of GitHub that maybe you wouldn't have foreseen?
I definitely think I think like graphic designer using it is the most unusual. She's obviously not doing design in there, but like that's where she'll have like you'll be able to see like her to-do list, all the stuff that she's thinking about working on. It's kind of like the project management around her work. It's probably the best, or the marketing team like using it to, because like it's actually a really good place if you're writing a blog post to edit it. Like you can do that in Google Docs, or you could do it in like WordPress or something. Like if you're doing it in Google Docs, like people are going to leave comments on your work, and then you have to like you resolve the comments, and they just kind of disappear. Whereas it's really easy to see like how something has changed over time, previous discussions and stuff in GitHub. It's just a little bit more granular than comments, and like you can suggest changes without accepting them and stuff in a way that's more visible to the rest of the teams. It's just less messy. So and you end up with like version 1, version 2, version 3 in Google, and you just don't have that in kind of a code change for a blog post. So yeah, I think it's like very underrated as I think it's like the best experience for editing written work. We do an awful lot of content marketing too, so we have like quite a lot of people full time on this. So yeah, those are probably two of the use cases that are a bit out there. But it's been brilliant.
No, great plug for the platform. We haven't tried using it for marketing, and now I'm kind of intrigued to give that a go. On the flip side,
Yep.
What is the worst software that you've had to use?
Um, so the worst experience we've actually had since starting the business, we give a lot of merch out to our user base. We're quite a community-oriented platform, so we sell. Like we've got like 140,000 companies have installed our software or something, and we have maybe like 250,000, just over that, like developers have signed up. And we want to give out merch all the time. Like if you're a startup, for example, we'll give you a bunch of free credits the first year. We'll send you like a t-shirt or hoodie or whatever. We have spent the entire 5 years of our existence trying to find a good way of getting merch to people internationally. And there are a couple of there's a platform called Perfection, which is kind of the standard. And like it's terrible. Like it's just been so unreliable. And then we've switched to another one called Brilliant, which ironically has also been terrible. So yeah, I don't think you could ever build like a VC backed kind of merch business. But if you wanted to like bootstrap a company, if you can like reliably deliver like t-shirts and hoodies to people, we would be the first person to be a customer. Because it's just meant that like they're specifically the people we want to please. Like customers being particularly helpful or something. So it's really annoying to like say, hey, yeah, like here's a merch code, put it into us. We've got like a merch store on postdoc.com. Put it into the store, you get like a bunch of free stuff if you've been particularly helpful to us. And then it just doesn't get posted to them. So it kind of frustrates people. Or even worse, they may have paid real money for it through our website, and then it doesn't get shipped. And then it won't return that stuff hasn't been shipped. And then we'll find out there's like 100 orders that haven't been fulfilled because we're sending out like thousands of bits and pieces to people. So yeah, that nail merch has been like one of our side quests that we have not completed yet. So that's the one where I just can't work out a good way of doing it. I think it's going to be like we're going to end up going with like a specialist e-commerce fulfillment company or something like that. It'll be a really big contract. So yeah, if anyone can do that, please let me know.
All right, I think that's like a call to the market for action. I love the focus on merch in general, though, how seriously you take it and how far you've looked for a good provider.
Like anytime anything kind of works, it's not like find a new channel. It's like, okay, let's go like really hard on this one that's already working. Like we're an inbound business. Like we're doing like multiple tens of millions of run rate, and we just grow through recommendation. And we're like, okay, why did you get recommended us? And we listen to what we get told. There are like maybe 4-ish reasons why people adopt our platform, and we just do more of those things. And like developer brand is one of them, and merch is part of that. And so yeah, it's just getting like weirder and weirder. The basics are like, okay, can we send t-shirts to people? And then you're like, okay, well, everyone in tech has like black t-shirts with a white logo or white t-shirt with a black logo. Can we do something that stands out more? And so like Lottie, the graphic designer I talked about earlier, has like designed a whole load of really weird t-shirts that are much higher quality. And so on. So yeah, just like cranking stuff up like that has been a really effective way of us growing.
Incredibly cool. Okay, I'm gonna have to make a plug after to try and get my hands on some Posthog merch.
Best of luck receiving it in the post.
Shipping to London might not quite go as planned.
It's not the most exotic destination we shipped to. I actually went in the early days. I was the merch provider for post office. In like I used to go to the post office and I'd send t-shirts to like 10 people, but there would literally be like one in Kyrgyzstan, one in India, one in like America, whatever, and it would take me like an hour, and I have to fill out like customs forms for all of them individually. So we've got better than that, but yeah, it's still not super slick.
Okay. Well, I love the dedication to trying to smooth it out. Looking at your latest additions, what was the latest piece of software you added to your stack?
A tool called Granola. So it's an AI note-taking product. I'm terrible in meetings at taking notes. My primary use case for it's actually interviewing. So we're adding lots of headcount. Like I think this year we're adding about 110 people extra to the business or something, and I just do loads of interviews each week as a result. And this lets me just like record what people are answering to questions. It is pretty easy when you're doing tons of interviewing to like zone out when you're asking similar questions to like 6 people in a row. So sometimes like I've zoned out for like 10 seconds, and rather than having to ask the candidate, I can just see like in real time, oh, okay, I'm back on the thing again properly, and I can see what they answered. And for afterwards too, it's really helpful for going, okay, I just want to take a moment, read through the transcript, reflect if we should move this person forward or not, because it can be quite hard to do that kind of live, and then it means I can take notes the rest of the team to follow. So for example, like I do an interview that's often not talking about people's motivation, and often we'll refer back to it later. And like if someone joins and we've already done an interview with someone over what they're motivated by, later on if we're thinking about like if we're changing teams around or roles around or whatever, it can be really helpful just to go back and have a look at like okay, let's just double check what the person actually said they cared about. We may not even need to talk to them about this at this point because we've already interviewed them on this topic like 6 months before. I've tried a bunch of these tools. And this one is just by far the most reliable and the quickest. So a lot of the other ones just won't load properly, or they'll miss the audio. It basically works well across Google Meet, Zoom, or any kind of audio. And the transcript appears kind of in real time. It doesn't actually record the audio as well, which is a bit more privacy friendly. And you can get it to you can create custom formats for the output for the text. Then you can, so for example, for an interview, I just want a list of the questions I've asked and then the answers to them. I don't want to paste into our applicant tracking system a really long back and forth discussion. I just want to be okay, here are the 10 questions I asked and here are the 10 answers I got back. And I want it to chop all the ums and ahs out of the meeting and stuff. So you can heavily customize it, but it's been really good. I think it's free or nearly free. It's very inexpensive too. But yeah, Granola been probably the AI tool actually that I use the most out of everything over the last year or two.
Yeah, it's a brilliant plug for Granola. It is a super competitive space, the note-taking space. That feels like a super tight market at the moment. And also just a great tip as well. I love the fact that you're asking about those motivators and coming back to it, right? That loop from a hiring approach is super thoughtful. Okay, the final question, but looking ahead, are there softwares that you've heard of that you're itching to try?
Yeah, again, this might be a bit of a developer one, but Windsurf I really want to try. So there are all these code writing products that are AI based, where you kind of tell it what you want it to build, and they are super cool. I'm a really bad developer, but it suddenly means that you can actually build stuff. So for example, I saw people using Cursor at one of our team offsites. I was like, man, that looks amazing. And so on the plane ride home with fairly bad internet on a plane, I was like, okay, I could build a job board for our website for developers specifically, where they can add filters based on what kind of laptop do I get? Do I get meeting free days? Are over half the team engineers, for example? So I built this very developer-y specific thing. I had to crawl the internet, do all this kind of stuff, and it worked brilliantly. So Windsurf is there's one called Cursor, which is the most popular. There's Copilot by GitHub, which is a little bit underpowered. And there's Klein, which is an open source one. But Windsurf is the one that I haven't tried yet and is, I think, the second most popular, or at least in terms of buzziness. We're also thinking about how these tools integrate with the software that our company provides. And so we just want to have a really good understanding of the landscape. We think they're fundamentally changing how software is being built. So for us, we're a developer-centric kind of product. And so it's really important to us to have a grip on it. And Windsurf gets rave reviews, but I want to see what the noise is about. I just need a bit of time and an excuse to build something, basically.
Yeah, it's hard to actually find out the time to check it out, but they're game-changing tools, right? I know in our case, Cursor has really been just incredible in terms of the speed it's practically had. It is literally adding to the team.
Yeah, I think I met last week I was in San Francisco meeting early stage. We have lots of startups using our stuff. We're not very enterprise focused, and we had I was probably maybe met maybe 6 or 7 startups, each with 2 or 3 founders, and 100% of people were using these AI code writing tools. So this is definitely what the state of the art is now. So I think we'd be at risk of building the coolest ever older generation business if we don't have a grip on what's currently going on in software development, basically.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is a great note to end it on. James, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.